Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship. So I'm kind of half joking in this video, but I'm kind of not. But I'm just going to compare the state of the world today in the USA versus El Salvador. And I'll be honest, I have no idea what's going on, and sometimes I feel like I'm in another dimension. But recently I saw this article about how Jerry Seinfeld, one of the great comedians, and he has made this observation for about, I guess, more than 10 years now. You don't want to go to colleges because they have no sense of humor. And then right here it says dozens of Duke graduates walk out in protest of Jerry Seinfeld's commencement speech. Now, when I compare this to El Salvador, which was one time considered for many years the murder capital of the world, I feel like I'm in another dimension. Like, up is down, down is up. And it doesn't even matter where you're from. If you do impressive things, like you have my attention, right? And so um, there's a speech by the El Salvadorian President Bukele, and you could look it up. I'll probably put a link down below. But there's English subtitles, and I'll be honest, I was moved because when I heard that speech, I was like, wow, these are like traditional American values that I don't think I've ever heard from an actual adult in this country during my lifetime as an adult. Maybe I kind of learned it at school, but you know, the this guy, he's really impressive. I mean, he went on news speaking in English, and his English is very fluid and elegant, and he's able to explain the political problems of his country very, very well. And when I saw the speech, I was like, wow, like this is what America should strive to be. And I feel like all of our focus is on stupid stuff like this, like booing Jerry Seinfeld. Like when's the last time? So I'm just gonna go ahead and we're gonna take a look at his speech. I would take screenshots because I don't like actually playing videos in this channel. But he says, for 8 months we've been fighting. I didn't post a whole speech, this war against gangs, right? So he's speaking in front of a group of soldiers. And then this is the current president right here. And he's a little bit older than me. So I'm like, I'm inspired that someone who's in my age group is making such a big difference, whereas I don't see that in my age group in this country. You know what I see? I see like people gorging a ton of food on cam on in front of a camera, right? But I think it's because maybe other countries have real problems, and we have a problem of meaninglessness in life, and so we just kind of fill the void with empty calories, metaphorically. And so let's take a look here. It says, "And thank God we're winning," right? And this is a very surprising victory. That is. And here's the thing: I took screenshots of these soldiers, and you take a look at these faces. It looks like genuine admiration for their leader. And I don't remember the last time I've seen that ever in my adult life. And so here it says, this is a very surprising victory that's within our grasp. And let it be clear that the glory is for God. And take a look at this guy. He looks like he's going to cry. I feel like I'm going to cry looking at this guy crying. And every time I see a picture of the soldier, it really looks like they're admiring, their leader who's going to take them to essentially the promised land. And I don't know if you ever watch Angry Joe, but this guy also looks like other Joe as like a random side comment. And so peace is built with hard work, right? So again, I feel like these are values that I used to hear that I just don't hear in like your average adult anymore in this country, right? Take a look at this guy again. Every time I see I show a picture of a soldier's face, it's like you would tell like they respect this guy. Values, values such as bravery, such as courage, um, patriotism, patriotism, honor, loyalty. Gosh, I love hearing this. And then you could tell from this part, he's calling out the United States. So he says societies that seem to have won now are degrading as they are losing the values that made them great, right? So basically, to me, he's just speaking about the United States, and it's very interesting how people outside of his country can see exactly what's happening in here. whereas the people in here have like no clue, right? It's like when you observe someone who has health problems and maybe they're smoking like 26 a day and they have no clue why they got lung cancer. But then you could see that far away, right? And on the other hand, in El Salvador, the values that previously were degraded in our country, right, are now the most important ones. And just take a look at yourselves. How could a nation not rise up with the values such as these? How could a nation not rise up when it puts God first, right? And then puts in the hard work. And so I'll be honest, like when I heard this, I was moved. I was like, is there like a foreign legion of El Salvador? I mean, I don't honestly want to join the army, but it's like, man, if someone made me the offer, I might like actually consider it because this is probably something I would want to be part of when I was like 18 or 19 and not go to college because college, I'll tell you why I have a pure hatred for college because, if I'm surrounded by these type of people, inevitably depression was going to sink in because I was just not in the right environment, right? But when I'm in, something like this where, you have and he talks about in his speech about how you feel like you're part of a greater something greater than just yourself. And that really spoke to me, you know? When's the last time you've heard in the United States about patriotism, loyalty, honor, bravery, being part of something greater than yourself in this country from another adult? Totally have never heard of it. Like, it's almost like something that you see in a movie and then you don't think is like real. And then you're like, oh, shoot, like this actually used to happen in our country, right? So, again, I'm really impressed. And these are the type of millennials. I think he's a millennial. I think he's just a few years older than me. That I'm impressed by, no matter what country you're from, right? Like people do this thing where it's like, oh man, we were so great back in I don't know the 80s or 90s, like California. In fact, there was a really funny comment on the video where it's like, coming from California that's crumbling, I salute you or something like that. And yeah, I'm again, I don't even know what to say. I'm really impressed. Now here's the thing. Just to end this off, I'm going to read parts of his speech in Spanish. And I don't know if you know this, but I'm actually fluent in Spanish. Just like this gentleman is actually fluent in English. You don't one of the things that I always like to kind of emphasize is that you don't actually have to grow up in a country to be fluent in the language, right? And it's actually a little bit more impressive that he is so fluent, even though, like, I looked at his biography, and it seems like he stayed in El Salvador his entire life. Now, I don't know his entire biography, but I kind of have a little bit of the same background, but the opposite, right? I speak fluent Spanish, but I didn't grow up in Latin America. But I think there's a certain caliber of people that I guess during our youth that we're trying to be. And again, I feel like I'm ages behind more than I should be. But seeing how elegant, how precise, how methodical, how well he speaks English, very impressive. But let me just go ahead and end this off with speaking his speech in Spanish for two reasons. Number one, I like to flex my Spanish once in a while. And number two, it actually sounds really good in Spanish, right? So I'll just kind of read it. And so just a few of these sentences. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's 2 minutes. I'll put a link down the video below. But all right, so I'm just going to go ahead and read it. Llevamos 8 meses en esta guerra contra las pandillas y gracias a Dios le estamos ganando. Esta es una victoria demasiado sorprendente que está ahí cerca, que quede claro que la gloria para Dios, que este Dios, nosotros los seres humanos tenemos la dicha de ser instrumento para llevar la paz, libertad, felicidad al pueblo salvadoreño. Y nosotros somos el instrumento para sanar esta tierra. Cada uno de ustedes son instrumentos de Dios para hacerlo. And if you don't know what was said, well, play the video. But basically, he's saying that everything is for the glory of God, and we are we have the responsibility of bringing peace, liberty, happiness to the Salvadorian people, and we are the instrument to cleanse this land, to this nation, and all of you are instruments of God for that purpose. So very moving speech. Whereas, like, what are we doing in this country? We're doing stupid stuff like this. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's weird. I don't know if I'll ever visit El Salvador in my life, but just seeing this, it's like, dang, like, I kind of ask myself, am I in the right country? You know what I mean? But sometimes you got to stick with kind of you kind of have a responsibility, and I'm kind of be a hypocrite with this too, to fix what is broken in your own country, right? So kudos to this man for just kind of, he's from there, and he was with this determination. He basically within a couple of years, you know, it was the murder capital of the world, and then I don't know if the fix is the right word to say, but man, based on what other people say, they say it's so much better than it was years before. So all right. Well, this is Korean Atlanta Mentorship. So, as you know, I always wake up so sorely disappointed that sometimes I feel like I live in another dimension because of stupid stuff like this. All right. Well, what do you think? Do you think El Salvador has is a better I don't know what you would say, a better place that shows traditional American values nowadays, or at least within its top leader, or am I just kind of nutty? Well, that's it, everybody. Have a good night, and we'll speak next time.